Namaste. Creating a brand is a three-step process that includes brand strategy, brand campaign, and evaluating the brand campaign. In our last episode, we discussed first step of the brand creation process, which is the brand strategy. Today, we will discuss the second step in the process, which is brand campaign. And to discuss this subject, we have with us management consultant Mr. Himanshu Vaidya. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, what is brand campaign and what are the constituents of the brand campaign?
To locate our discussion today, let me start with what we had done last time and then come proper to this question. We said the area of brand management can be divided into five parts. First, brand creation. Second, brand campaign. Third, uh, evaluating brand equity. Fourth, brand psychology. And fifth, specialty applications of brand management for the purpose of NGOs, government, religious organizations, celebrities, industrial products, SMEs, clusters, and so on. You can divide the entire area of brand management into these five parts. Then we took up the first part of brand creation. And we said this part again can be divided into three parts: brand strategy, brand campaign, and evaluating the brand campaign. Now, today we are discussing last time we discussed the first part of brand strategy. Today we are discussing the second part of the brand campaign. And this part of brand campaign, we will again divide into its constituent parts. The first part of the brand campaign, let me come before I come to this, let me define what the brand campaign is. Any measure that you take to create a brand is a brand creation measure. However, it is not necessary that you uh, take one measure only. Often you take multiple amount of number of measures to create a brand. And this can happen in a coordinated way or a non-coordinated way. And I'll just explain what it means. So definition wise, brand campaign is a coordinated set of measures undertaken by the company or any organization or individual to create a brand. So brand campaign is nothing but a coordinated set of measures undertaken to create a brand. So this brings us to the question, what is this coordinated set of measures and is there something called uncoordinated set of measures? So let us, before that, go into the constituents of brand campaign and then answer this question. When we say a brand campaign, what does it mean? It means three categories of measures: public relations, advertising, and events. In order to create a brand, these three sets of measures are used by the company. So first is public relations. What is public relations? It is the news that you see in the newspapers, television, radio, these news items or even magazines. These news items about any particular company are financed by the company most of the times, and they are a part of what is called public relations. You can also see interview of a CEO of a company. That also is a part of public relations. It can be newspaper, it can be on television, it can be the magazine, but that is also a part of public relations. Similarly, news coverage about a company in general, whenever a company gets a big deal, or when the company is about to enter the stock market, or the company is about to announce annual results, or just after the annual results, you have the interview of the CEO of the company or the CFO of the company. All this is a part of what is called public relations. This is one category of measures. The second category of measures is advertisement, which is the most common thing that we all know. Advertisement on TV, in newspaper, in magazine, in theaters, Now you also see on the hoardings, on the radio. So advertisements is the second category of measures. And the third is events, like organizing the
Okay.
cricket match or sponsoring the cricket tournament or sponsoring the football tournament or Olympics or holding some event in a college or holding some event on the street using a truck which is moving about in the city, engaging with people. So this set of measure is called events. So there are three broad categories of measures which are used to create a brand: public relations measures, advertisement measures, and event measures. Now, you can use all these three in a coordinated way, systematic way, or in an uncoordinated way. If you are a very small company, then what you do is you do according to your finances available, according to whatever little knowledge you have about brand management. And you cannot hire an advertising agency. So what a small company does is, if it wants to create a brand, it will issue one advertisement in the newspaper and then not do anything in the PR area or events area. Or it may issue one advertisement, one event it may do and do nothing for the next 1 month because it won't have the finances. So this is what we call trying to create a brand using events, PR, and advertisement, but without a systematic coordinated measures. The three categories of measures are not coordinated with each other. They are not systematically done. They are done off and on based upon the whims and fancies of the owner of the company or based upon the finances available. However, when you do it in a systematic coordinated manner, we call that a brand campaign. So when you are trying to do a brand campaign, you have a complete plan for the next 6 months. That on Monday morning, I will have an advertisement in newspaper X on page number Y of this size. And the day the advertisement appears, the same day I will hold an event by my truck passing through that particular area. If I have given advertisement, let us say, in Times of India Ahmedabad edition, and it appears on Wednesday, then on the same day, my truck will be doing events in Ahmedabad itself. You cannot issue advertisement in Ahmedabad and do event in Baroda. So all the three have to be coordinated. Public relation has to build up the tempo before the first advertisement comes. Or after the advertisement comes, it has to follow up and consolidate what the advertisement has done. Similarly, when I put an advertisement in the newspaper, okay, during the same time, I have to put it up in the hoarding. And I have to create a systematic plan that when the advertisement or hoarding comes, how is it connected to the advertisement on radio, on TV, in theater, in newspaper, in magazine? So systematic plan has to be created so that maximum return on investment is accrued to the person who invests money. So a brand campaign is a coordinated set of measures in order to create a brand. The constituents are public relations, advertising, and events.
Something which is well thought out and very well planned.
Yeah. So when we
So,
look at a brand campaign, we will see uh, 4 or 5 steps of a brand campaign. The first step is uh, understanding the competition and brand campaigns of others. So what we call understanding competition and consumer. The first step in the brand campaign is study competition and consumer. That is step number one. Step number two is create the creative material required for advertising, public relations, and events. The creative material required for it. Number three, go for media planning. when to release which communication in which media vehicle. And based upon the funds available, you have to plan out the whole thing. Because funds are always limited and media cost is very high. In fact, 80% of 75% at least of any good brand campaign goes in the media cost. It is not the advertising agency which earns the most money. It is the media which earns most of the money. Because all competitors will use the same media for advertisements. So the media makes money from everyone, regardless of who is competing with whom. So if you look at the brand campaign as a process, the first step is study competition and consumer. Two, create the creatives. Three, media planning. Fourth, media release and implementation in case of events. And five, media tracking.
Mm-hmm.
After release, what happens to our advertisement? How many people have seen it? So it's called day one tracking, day two tracking, and so on. So there are specialized agencies which track the media, track the consumers. Step six is evaluating how the campaign is doing. And step seven, if any corrective action is required, you take the corrective action. So these are the 7 steps of the brand campaign itself.
Sir, talking of the competition, is brand created only by brand campaign, or does factors like price and quality also matter? And how much?
Yeah, all of them matter and very, very strongly. You cannot create a good brand just by advertisement and sell a bad product. So there are two parts of a brand creation process, the objective part and the subjective part. The objective part relates to the product quality, product price, product availability, and after sales service. These are objective parts of a product related to product performance, as well as performance of the distribution and the retailing chain. So product price, product quality, product availability, retail experience, the distribution reach, as well as after sales service. This is one part, the objective part of brand creation. And there is psychological part of brand creation, which uses the brand campaign for its creation. So only advertising can never create a brand. For a small period of time, it can create some initial interest and people can try the brand once. But after buying the product once, if the product does not perform, they are not going to purchase it repeatedly. So even if there is an initial interest in the product, it's going to go away very soon. So in order to create a good brand, you have to perform well both on the objective components and the subjective components. In fact, the subjective components are augmenting the objective components. The foundation is the objective components. And the superstructure of this high-rise building is the subjective component. If you look at it as a 10-story building, the first 3 stories relate to the objective parts of product price, quality, availability, distribution, retailing, after sales service. And the top 7 parts relate to the brand campaign consequences, the positive consequences of the brand campaign. But you cannot have the top 7 parts without the bottom 3 parts being strong enough.
So, does is it the company that creates and executes the brand campaign, or is it done by the advertising agency?
There are 3 different situations actually, based upon what is the size of the company and what is the size of the uh, investments available for creating the brand. If we are looking at small company and small budget for brand creation, they are not able to hire any advertising agency. So what they do is they do it themselves using generally some graphic designer. So they use either a graphic designer or a event management agency, which is not a very professional agency, so anybody available for very low cost. If they apply their own minds, their own knowledge, and use this graphic designer or the event management agency, which are available at low cost, and do the brand campaign themselves. And there, I don't think it's even a campaign because usually they do very unsystematic, uncoordinated kind of efforts to create the brand. Because most of them don't have the idea of what is a brand campaign and what difference does it make to create a brand through a campaign and trying to create it through unsystematic, uncoordinated set of measures. So in all probability, they don't do a brand campaign. They do very uncoordinated measures, whatever comes to their mind. This is situation one. Then we go to slightly larger companies who have a budget of more than 10 lakh rupees, but it may be less than 1 crore rupees. Now, that is an area where many of them use brand consultants. So the company can hire a brand consultant who has the knowledge of this area, and the brand consultant on behalf of the company coordinates with graphic designers, event management agencies, media buying agencies, media release agencies, media tracking agencies, and helps the company to create a brand strategy and do the whole thing systematically. So this situation is where uh, companies do a brand campaign, but a very low cost brand campaign. And generally, these brand campaigns are heavy in events or PR. Uh, and if they use media, they don't use media like television. They generally go for local edition of newspapers, local magazines, local theaters, or local radio stations. Because uh, in many of these cases, they just can't afford the national mass media. So this is situation two, where they use localized media, which may be radio stations or local editions of newspapers or magazines coming in vernacular language or local theaters, something of that sort. Then we come to larger companies. And when we talk of larger companies of with budgets of more than 1 crore rupees or preferably more than 5 crore rupees per annum, then we come to uh, hiring of advertising agencies. And then the entire thing is coordinated by advertising agencies. And generally, somebody from the company, usually the brand manager, is coordinating on behalf of the company with the agency. And the decisions usually are taken by the top management. So the final presentation of the advertising agency is attended by the top management, right from the CEO downwards. So the CEO, VP marketing, GM brand management, if they are there, if the company does not have so many layers, then just the CEO and the person in charge of the brand management process with the advertising agency, they collectively take the decisions. And when you have a very large company which has a very big budget, which goes into more than 10 crores per annum, then we have a full-time position of a VP brand management or AVP brand management and a full department under him. And then it is done very, very systematically. They hire an advertising agency and at times they also hire a research agency to do research independently of the advertising agency to give them a feedback which is independent of the agency. So these are various formats in which companies either do it themselves or engage an advertising agency.
Hmm. So, how does the process actually happen? Practically in the company, if you need to go stepwise, how does that happen?
We can divide this into two parts. One, where this is happening for the first time. Now, there everything is haphazard because nobody knows how the system is going to operate. So, usually they either hire a small agency or a brand consultant to initially sort of handhold them. The first 3-4 times the campaign happens. And this was an area where I used to work as a brand consultant to help the companies, handhold the companies to do the campaign first 3-4 times. So I would be the company's representative dealing with the advertising agency on behalf of the company. So this is a very, very common thing for companies which are doing it for the first time. Then you have companies where it is a regular ongoing activity. Now the way it happens in both these cases is very different. Let us start with the first one. Any company starting off for the first time. So the first difficulty comes in terms of hiring of the advertising agency. How do you hire an advertising agency? And in my book, there is a full chapter, or at least I think there is a very substantial amount of writing on how to deal with the advertising agency. If you are a brand manager of a company and you are dealing with the advertising agency, how do you deal with them? And what are the issues that come between the two? So, if a company is starting off for the first time, the first difficulty is how to select an agency and how to deal with the agency. And very importantly, how do you evaluate the output of the agency? So first selecting the agency itself is a area by itself. Because if you are a small company and you try to select a very big advertising agency, it will not work out. If you are, let us say, in automobile business and you select the advertising agency which has always dealt with FMCG products, it will also not work out because the agency has no experience in your area. If your strength is in the technical quality of the product, right? And you hire an agency which is not good in leveraging the technical side of the product, which is better only in leveraging the psychological aspect of the product, again, there is a difficulty. So we have to select the agency in a very judicious way. So for a company which starts for the first time, the system is first you start with hiring a brand consultant, then selecting the agency, then giving them the brief, then evaluating their output, having discussions, and then finalizing the brand campaign. If the brand campaign involves a lot of media spending, then the question comes, will you buy the media directly or will you allow the agency to buy? So the first 2-3 times you allow the agency to buy, and then you realize that the agency is making more money in media buying than in your fees. So then you start buying directly in media yourself. This is with regard to the first timers. For the first timers, it's also new how to evaluate aesthetic output of the agency. Because most people are not trained in evaluating aesthetics. So if an agency brings out an advertisement using green, blue, and red colors, how are you going to say whether I want these colors or I don't want these colors? So this whole aspect of analyzing aesthetics, analyzing color, form, composition, that part most of the people are not trained in. That's where the brand consultant comes in. So the first time the company goes for brand management, the difficulties are first hire a brand consultant, two select the right agency, three evaluate the output of the agency, four select the right kind of campaign for your product and your company, and five how to evaluate whether the campaign is going right or wrong. If you have an ongoing brand management process in the company, a very established process, like you have in all the larger companies, then everything is systematic. Selection of the agency, evaluating the work of the agency, selecting the brand campaign, evaluating the brand campaign, tracking customer responses, doing consumer research before the campaign, after the campaign, trying out all the creatives with the consumers before they are released in the media. All of this is a very systematic process. You already have people, many agency options. So for that, it's a very different cup of tea, very systematic. But usually, it starts with selection of the agency providing options. You select one option for the campaign. The agency creates the creatives, brings the creatives to you. You do modification, selection, or rejection, whatever happens. The campaign is finalized. Then media buying happens, media planning happens, media buying happens, media release happens, media tracking happens, and then analysis of the campaign happens. So this is the way practically it goes step by step.
Yeah. So, can we look at some of the iconic brand campaigns, a brand creation campaign?
Yeah, yeah. We can look at 4 or 5 of them that nobody of us can forget. The campaign of Fevicol, where people are
Fevicol. Okay.
everyone is sitting on a bus, and the bus is uh, twisting, turning, and taking a kind of a ride, and you see people stuck on the bus because of Fevicol. We all remember the campaign of Liril Soap, the girl taking a bath under the waterfall. We all remember the campaign of Lux, using all the celebrities. We all remember the launch campaign of Pepsi, when Pepsi came in India for the first time. The tagline was very popular, Yahi hai right choice baby. It was a very popular tune of its time. And then we can think about the campaign of Lifebuoy, the same kind of campaign which has endured for so many years. So we can't forget this kind of
Right.
campaigns. And we also can't forget some of the brands which are no longer in the market. For example,
Like,
Hippolyte. Uh, for example, that used to be competitor of Surf. Then the Tinopal, the whitener. So these products are, yeah. For example, in Gujarat, you can talk about Pankaj Singh Tel. They are no longer in the market, but their brand still is in our minds. So we still recollect of them. So these are some of the iconic campaigns which we can never forget on the Indian scene. On the international scene, you can talk about the campaign of Sony. You can talk about the campaign of Isuzu. You can talk about the campaign of Apple. You can talk about
Onida, I think.
Frida. Yeah, very right.
Yeah, neighbors envy, owners pride.
Yeah, very much so. And you can also talk about the iconic campaign of Johnson and Johnson. The same kind of campaign for so many years, almost generations. The baby and the mother. So uh, we can look at these iconic campaigns, and they'll sort of leave a unforgettable mark in our minds. So regardless of what happens to them in the market, in our minds they continue to be very nostalgic memories.
So how do we decide whether, what kind of a brand campaign you need? Do you need a PR heavy or a ad heavy or a event heavy? I mean, something that you mentioned in your first point, but how do you decide on what kind of campaign you want?
Yeah, it depends upon who is your customer segment. Suppose you are in consumer marketing selling soaps, shampoo, biscuit, two-wheeler, four-wheeler, where your customers are spread across the society. For example, if you're selling biscuits or you're selling soaps or shampoos, you have millions of anonymous customers who you don't even know who they are. And you require a mass reach because you are earning 2 rupees from everybody and you're earning 2 rupees from 10 crore people. That's how your business is. It's essentially a uh, low margin, high volume business. So if you're doing that kind of thing where your customers are in millions and most of them are anonymous to you and you have to reach them, then getting advertising heavy is the only way out. And that is why you will see all the mass products, they go for advertising heavy campaign where 75% of investment goes into advertisements and rest 25% is split between PR, public relations and events. But if you are, let us say, into a very technical product, like for example, you are making some industrial product, say you are making machinery for pharmaceutical companies, then your customers or pharmaceutical companies will buy your machines to manufacture medicines. Now, in that kind of a situation, it makes no sense for you to give an advertisement in Times of India or on Star TV because out of millions of people who will see this, hardly one of them will be your customer, who is the owner of a pharmaceutical company. So, in such a situation, it does not make prudent sense to go for advertisement heavy campaign. So, what you do is you participate in trade fairs and you invest money in event participation. So, it's a event heavy kind of uh, brand campaign. You invest most of the money in events because that is where, in a very focused way, your target customer is coming there. And then we have PR heavy campaigns, which are usually done by IT companies. So if you talk about Infosys or Oracle or Microsoft, you will see very few advertisements by them. And yet, you and I, we know so much about them. And we know so much about them because of the PR that you keep hearing news about them on TV, in newspapers, in magazines, and you also see interviews of people from those companies. So they are always in the news, but not through advertisements, not through events, but through public relations. So they do
They
what is
don't,
called the PR heavy
sorry,
campaign. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. They don't even have a product as such to sell, they're more into service oriented.
Yes, yes, yes. And there, if you look at why they do so much of investment in public relations, because most of the people who read it are not their customers actually. So they do it for very different purposes. They do it
Mm-hmm.
to partly influence the minds of decision makers, partly making it easier for those who make decisions, because that person can
Okay.
say, look, I am giving order to a very well-known company. They are partly doing it to have very good valuation of the stock market. They are partly doing it to influence the government so that the policies are conducive to them. Right? So their objectives are very different. Uh, Not different in the sense it operates in a slightly different route. So they do a PR heavy campaign, and therefore, even if we are not the customers, even if we are not seen advertisement, even if we are not seen any event participation, yet we know so much about these IT companies because of the PR led brand campaign that they do.
Right. So can we take some examples of brand campaign which are not advertisement led?
Yeah, many of them. If you look at brand campaigns of any IT company, they are public relations led. If you look at brand campaigns of uh, companies which manufacture in IT area, you can take example of Infosys, Oracle, IBM. You can take example of Adobe. You can take example of that. So these are all PR led brand campaigns. If you look into manufacturers of capital goods or engineering products, whether you look at uh, Bosch or you look at uh, say Fordler or you look at uh, say Intel, you will see a very large component of event participation. You can also take a look at something which is very interesting. Say companies which manufacture liquor, and they are not allowed to do advertisement by law in India, actually, in India at least. So in India, if liquor company wants to do a brand campaign, but the law does not allow them to do advertisements, they participate in events. So they cannot do an ad-led campaign, they cannot do a PR-led campaign. So they do an event-led campaign. And very interestingly, in the area of advertisements, they do what is called surrogate marketing, which is, if you look at this one, Seagram, uh, they have a very famous campaign, Men Will Be Men. And they have created a very good song for it. प्यार की राह में चलना सीख. So what they do is they market this song or the cassette of this song, officially speaking, and indirectly they are branding their Seagram uh, whiskey or vodka or whatever they are selling. But they cannot directly show the product of the TV. It's banned by law. So they use the same name for a different kind of product. And this is what is known as surrogate branding. That you create a brand of your product using another product because your product is banned by law, so you cannot show it directly. So in some countries where liquor is banned, they have a ad-led campaign, but using a surrogate product. And in some countries where tobacco is banned, the same thing is done by tobacco companies. So this is a kind of a camouflaged use of an ad-led campaign.
Yes, live life king size,
Yes.
Will Sky, guess. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So, how much time does it take to create a brand?
Uh, it depends upon the kind of brand you want to create, because you don't have to create a global brand directly. You can start local and you may have a territory in mind. You may say, I want to first create a brand for one district. And after 2 years, I want to go statewide. After 5 years, I want to go nationwide. Then maybe in the same continent, and then maybe global. So you may have a phase-wise development of the brand. You don't have to start with a global brand. In fact, most brands start as very local, territorial brands, and then slowly expand their catchment area, their market, and they go from district to state to national to regional to continental and then global. So the time taken for each of them is different. Usually, if you talk about a classical brand which is launched for a country, it takes for that particular oversimplified situation, it takes between 1 to 2 years for the brand to really establish itself, because there are stages. Stage one, you only create awareness. That takes, let us say, 2 to 3 months. Then some of those who are aware of your brand start understanding what it is all about, what it stands. Out of those, a few people try, really buy your brand. Out of those, a few are satisfied and they repeatedly purchase. And some are very satisfied, they become brand loyal. So customers pass slowly, step by step, through this entire process, from awareness of the brand to consumption of the brand to brand loyalty. But it takes, practically speaking, between 1 to 2 years for something on a national scale, provided you have a very big brand budget and you have a huge distribution system. We are talking about very large companies. But if you don't have very big budgets and if you don't have an established distribution system, then establishing a brand at the national level in a country like India can easily take between 5 to 10 years.
So is brand creation related to market creation, or is it different? I mean, is it different from ordinary brand creation?
The two are very different situations.
Okay.
Let us say uh, situation one, there are 10 glucose biscuits in the market and I am launching the 11th glucose biscuit in the market. So this is a situation where the market for glucose biscuit already exists and I am entering that market with a new brand. So I am creating a new brand, but the market already exists. I am not launching biscuit for the first time. So it is an already existing market of biscuits with its own 5 to 7 brands, maybe 10 brands, and I am the 11th brand. And of course, I will differentiate my biscuit in some way. I will of course differentiate my advertisements in some way, but I am entering an established market. I don't have to educate people on what is a biscuit. So I am entering a market which is already existing with a new brand. That is situation one. This is a very easy situation because the burden of market creation is not on my shoulders. The market already exists. People already know what the product is. People have consumed the product for many years. Everyone knows how the product is sold, how the product is consumed. I can also see how people are using advertisements for the same category. So I can see how the existing 10 companies are using the brand campaign. So this is an easy situation. Situation two, where I am creating a brand and I'm also creating a market. That is a very difficult situation because it takes almost 10 years, 5 to 10 years to create a market in normal sense. And if you have very large budgets, and if you are lucky, then 3 to 5 years. And there are two issues. One, it requires very large budgets. Two, you have to take loss for some years because people don't know that product. Take two examples. Let us say you are launching electric vehicles. And I was part of such a process, so I can say it with some degree of experience that as a brand consultant to one of the companies which launched electric vehicles, the first difficulty was people could not just imagine that there can be a two-wheeler without an engine. So the first thing they would say is, where is the engine and the carburetor? Because for the last 50 years, we have only seen what is called internal combustion engine vehicles. We have not seen battery operated vehicles. So if you have to sell, if you have to create a new brand for electric vehicles, first you have to explain what the electric vehicle is all about. And that will take time. Customer education will take time. The mechanic training will take time. A normal mechanic will not open this vehicle. So what happens to this vehicle if it gets into a breakdown situation on the street? You don't know how to charge. You don't know what will happen when the battery is exhausted and you need a new battery. So you don't know whether license is required or not required. RTO registration is required or not required. Everything is the flux. So it takes some time for the whole system to stabilize. So people who create a market, they need very deep pockets, very deep patience, and lot of work to first explain the product to the people, gain their trust, allow them to go on for a few years, and then the market really gets established. So, and many times it happens that creating a brand along with market creation is a double-edged sword. Some people are able to reap for a very long time what is called the pioneer's advantage. That they have started something and they reap the advantages of it for a very long time. Their name often becomes generic to the category. For example, say
Mm.
Xerox. Xerox has
Mhm.
become a generic name for photocopy
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was one of the pioneers in that area. And even today, the brand recall is very high. Similarly, in India, it is Bisleri. That Bisleri has become generic to mineral water. So there is pioneer's advantage. At the same time, it has also happened that many of the pioneers they get stabbed in the back. That the pioneer puts in all the money and hard work, but the pioneer fails, and the people who come number two and number three, they harvest the work of the pioneer. So it is a double-edged sword unless one has deep pockets and very deep patience and waiting time and ability to take losses for a very long time and very deep R&D setup in the company. One should not attempt this thing of creating a brand along with the market because market creation is a deep pocket, deep patience, long term, and a deep R&D involving activity. So it is
Yeah.
too heavy a burden for
Mm.
holders of an ordinary company. Let us take two examples. Uh, Talk about Maggie noodles. uh, Consuming rice in the form of noodles is something very new to India. Indians never used to consume rice in the form of noodles. It was more common in China and Japan and that part of the world. China, Japan, Vietnam, Thailand. But in India, the traditional way of consuming rice was never in the form of noodles. So when Maggie launched noodles, they had to wait for many years before habits of Indians could change. And Maggie today has become almost an Indianized product. But that has taken almost 8 to 10 years for Maggie. So a huge amount of investment goes into market creation of this type, and it takes long time before the payback starts. So it is something for the big boys with deep pockets, deep patience, deep R&D, deep distribution, not for
Mm.
ordinary company. Take another example of Titan. Titan corporatize the jewelry market in India. So Titan also has taken a long time before it could establish itself, and now of course it's doing very well. But the initial period was full of challenges. Similarly, for in furniture area, you can look at Pepperfry or you can look at IKEA. How difficult they are finding to corporatize that
Mhm.
unorganized market.
Mm.
So these are the two different situations. Creating a new brand in an existing market is easy. Creating a new brand along with market creation is very difficult.
Mm. Kellogg's also is a classic example, the
Very
way they
much.
are changing your
Yes, very
breakfast
much.
habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like Maggie.
Yes. And
You
of
are
course, the gestation period goes up because, you're into that education phase itself takes a lot of time.
because you are trying to change the cultural habit. You are introducing
Yes.
cornflakes to a country which never used cornflakes in its history.
Yes. So, what if this brand creation effort fails? When what are what would be the usual reason, if we may say, for a failure of?
There is a very good book on this subject called Brand
Uh-huh.
Failures and
Sorry,
Brand
sorry. The
Failures.
book.
Brand
Oh,
Failures.
okay.
That
Mm-hmm.
book only analyzes 100 different brands which have failed and the reasons of why a particular brand would fail. If you look at reasons of brand failure, you can categorize the reasons into two categories. One set of reasons related to the objective parameters of the brand, and one category related to the brand campaign aspect of the brand creation. So a brand can fail for a variety of reasons. Let us say the price is very high compared to competitors. The brand can fail. The brand is not available where the demand is. It can again fail. After sales service is not good. It can fail. Retail experience is not good. It can fail. Quality is not good. It can fail. These are objective reasons for failure of a brand. So it is quite possible that the advertisement, event, public relations, all is very good, but the product quality is not good. It would still fail. Or brand campaign is very good, product quality also is very good. It is highly priced, so people don't buy. It can still fail. So this can be the objective reason. On the brand campaign side, it can fail because either the creative was not, either strategy was not correct. You have targeted a wrong group of customers. So when you do a wrong STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, you are targeting customers who are not going to buy your products, and you are not targeting customers who are probably likely to buy your product. So it may be wrong targeting of the wrong market. It may be wrong positioning. It may be wrong creative. It may be some mistake in the media planning that your probable customers are watching Star TV and you give advertisement on Discovery. So it's a wrong media planning. You have chosen the wrong media vehicle. So the creative may be very good, but the media vehicle is not correct. It does not reach your customers. Or your customers are mostly on the road. So you should be putting money on the hoardings, but you put money on TV and they are not watching TV. They don't have time for TV. So selecting the wrong media vehicle or even wrong time, that you may choose the right channel on TV, but at the wrong time. So if you have product, let us say for a housewife, if the housewife is seeing Star TV, but she is busy cooking between, let us say, 9 to 10, and you give advertisement in that time period, even on the right channel, it will not work. So it can be wrong use of media vehicle or wrong time. So this can be the objective or subjective reasons why a brand can fail. So either it is because of uh, something or the other, either does not go well, or somebody in competition does much better. At times it may be that you fail not because you don't do something right, you fail because somebody in competition does it much better.
So, how can we leverage psychoanalysis in the process of brand creation then?
Essentially, if you look at the way uh, the brand creation process works, it is largely unconscious. We watch communication, we read public relations material, we participate in events, and we consciously don't think much about it. Much of the processing is unconscious. You will hardly see anybody uh, after watching an advertisement saying to somebody near that person, let us understand and analyze what this advertisement means. Unless somebody is professionally into brand management, I don't think anybody will analyze any element of the brand campaign. And once you realize that the whole process that happens in the mind is largely unconscious, then psychoanalysis comes in because it deals with the unconscious. So, how does a person get stimulated, excited? How is the desire created? Or how the flames of desire are fanned further? How much will sexuality work? How much will father figures work? How much will machoism work? So if you look at advertisements, many of them actually are catering to our unconscious desires. It is almost like manufacturing dreams for wish fulfillment. So psychoanalysis can be used to a great extent to find out what are the unconscious fantasies people have and how best to cater to those fantasies. You can also use, you can use psychoanalysis for creation of material for brand campaign as well as analysis of how it was processed in the minds of people. One interesting part can be to use Jungian psychology of archetypes because we use a lot of archetypes in advertising. The hero, the magician, the old wise man, all of them are there in their full glory in the advertising world.
I think even many fantasy characters might help, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But sir, is psychoanalysis being used? I mean, do you know of any brand campaign or
Very
who
few
would
people
have used
go,
psychoanalysis?
very few people go to that depth of analysis.
Hmm.
There was a very productive consultant called Kate D. Rice, and Kate D. Rice, he tried to combine psychoanalysis with advertising, and he did some work in that area. After that, not many people have done a real solid deep work connecting advertising and psychoanalysis, but it can be used and it can be done. Unfortunately, people who are good in psychoanalysis have never interacted enough with the advertising agencies.
Hmm.
And therefore,
Right.
advertising agencies don't really know the power or the capability of psychoanalysis to provide them more insights and more tools to do better advertising and better brand campaigns. I'm sure if this is known to the advertising agencies, they will definitely leverage psychoanalysis.
Hmm. Yeah. I think I'm sure it will be more effective.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we've discussed today step two of the brand creation process, which is the brand campaign, and very much in detail. We will discuss the step three, which is evaluating the brand campaign in our coming episode. Meanwhile, you do write to us at hvindia@gmail.com and keep watching. And thank you, sir. Namaste.